So with that, I would like to introduce the next speaker. Let me unshare myself. The next speaker, Lloyd Gan. Okay, he is a certified coach, a keynote speaker, and the founders of the True North Academy. It's a wellness and peak performance company helping midlife professionals reverse burnout and reignite their vitality. Once you have sorted out their health, all this is going to be very, very helpful, right? He is a former banker, turned age reset coach, and a biohacker. Lloyd's draw from decades of real-world experience, from rebuilding his life after major setbacks like surviving the global financial crisis. His story and his science-backed framework, the Age Reset Mastery, have inspired countless executives and teams to perform at their best, not just at work, but in life. How we all want to have that, isn't it? So come, please join me in welcoming Lloyd Gan.
Hi everyone. Thank you for joining me in today's webinar. My apologies, I just couldn't get my camera to work, and I tried with Hilmi earlier. Yeah, so sorry. So I just have to go without my camera for this one. Thank you so much for joining me for today's webinar. So today I'm very excited to talk about a concept that's transforming how we think about communication in business, and that is storytelling leadership, turning communication into a revenue center. It's a bold idea, right? For a long time, communication was actually seen as a soft skill and something nice to have, but not directly tied to the bottom line. But times have changed. In fact, communication is now recognized as one of the most powerful revenue generators for a company. Think about that. Our words, our narratives can drive business results just as much as strategies or spreadsheets. Let's set the stage for a quick scenario. Picture a sales team trying to pitch to a new client. One rep bombards the client with slides of figures and jargon. Another rep opens with a story. Maybe one of your customers, just like the client who faced a similar challenge, struggle and eventually win or triumph using the solution. Now, who do you think wins the client's attention? It's no contest, right? The storyteller always wins every time. We've all always been on the receiving end of dull data dumps, and we always tune out of that. But a story that pulls us in, and great leaders understand this. They use storytelling to inspire their teams and influence others to take action. You know that people don't just buy into ideas or products. People buy into stories and the meaning behind those stories. So today, we're going to explore why storytelling is such a game changer for leadership and sales communication. I'll show you the essence of why stories work and how they can turn everyday communication into tools for driving revenue. We'll also look at a real-world case study of storytelling in action and do a quick interactive exercise so that you can also form your own storytelling strategy. Seeing for yourself that storytelling, as a storytelling leader, you can also turn message into results. So let's dive in. Okay, so why are stories such a big deal, right? We humans are always wired for a story. From ancient cave drawings to Dr. Tam's TikTok videos, storytelling has always been how we make sense of the world. It connects us to something greater than ourselves. It builds trust and drives action. So what about in the business context? Especially in an era where there's a lot of information overload, right? So a good story cuts through the noise. It speaks to our hearts and our minds. And here's a little bit of neuroscience. Stories actually trigger neurotoxin, which is the trust hormone, and dopamine. And they are 22 times more memorable than facts. 22 times. That's like over 2000% more memorable than facts. And especially a well-told story biologically primes us to connect the message and remember it. You probably felt this. Think of a time you listen to a gripping story. You will feel emotionally invested, and you can likely recall details of a story long after facts and figures have faded. That's actually not coincidence. That's chemistry. And 73% of buyers are more likely to buy from brands that connect emotionally. This memorability translates directly into impact. Memorable messages drive action. For example, why do so many top brands focus on storytelling in their marketing? Because it works. It sells. A recent Forbes insight found that 73% of consumers are more likely to purchase from a brand they feel personally connected to. And how do you create a personal connection at scale? It is authentic stories. When your company narrative or your sales pitch resonates on a human level, customers feel this brand gets me. And that feeling moves them to buy or remain loyal. Similarly, in leadership, storytelling builds trust. Actually, 72% of investors are more likely to come back to companies whose leaders effectively communicate the story. And I don't know if many of us here watch advertisements on YouTube. Yeah, advertisements on YouTube. And the most, maybe you can type in the chat, let me know which countries have advertisements that are most intriguing. Anyone? Yes, Brenda, right? Yeah, yes, exactly. Thailand, right? Yeah, and sometimes Japan, yeah. Japan comes as a close second. Any idea why? Why is Thailand's ads so intriguing? A lot of emotions, yes. You skip over to YouTube advertisements. You skip over YouTube. Okay. Okay, that's Wendy. Story and connection, exactly. So all these figures underscore a simple truth. Storytelling isn't just a warm and fuzzy concept. The almost indisputable are the ads produced from Thailand. They are so engaging, so relatable, and sometimes so shocking. And do you realize that they form the very backbone of an amazing story without telling you what product they're actually touting? And at the end, when the product is eventually revealed, you get a sense that, hey, the next time I see this, I want to, that product or that brand has been embedded deeply in your impression without you actually realizing it. That actually demonstrates the power of storytelling. Okay, let me move on to the next slide. Okay, to bring my concept to life, I want to share a real-world example of storytelling, delivering big results. Okay, imagine you're playing the role of a content producer or somebody who's about to launch, or imagine you're tasked with launching a new product in a highly competitive market. See a new celebrity fragrance on a TV shopping network. Anyone heard of this network called Home Shopping Network? HSN. Okay, this was the challenge faced by HSN a few years back. The fragrance called My Life. It's a fragrance called My Life. And they used the singer Mary J. Blige to promote it. HSN could have marketed this in a very traditional way. List the perfume notes, talk about the price, maybe flash some endorsements. But instead, they tried a bold strategy. They built a storytelling campaign around Mary J. Blige's personal journey. Now, Mary is an award-winning artist who has a well-known life story of overcoming hardships, growing up in a tough environment, facing personal struggles, and eventually triumphing in her career and life. HSN skillfully wove that narrative into the product launch. They created a 360-degree multimedia campaign, not just TV spots, but also online content. A documentary-style short film about Mary's life split into chapters of struggle and hope. Live interviews and even a concept on launch day. in every element, the fragrance wasn't pitched as just another bottle of perfume. It was presented as a symbol of Mary's story of resilience, empowerment, and transformation. To cut to the chase, the campaign was a runaway success. On the final day of the storytelling campaign, HSN sold 72,000 units of the fragrance within 24 hours, raking in about 3 million in sales in just 24 hours. Even more impressive is 1 in 5 buyers were brand new customers to HSN. These are the people drawn in by the story, and they have never purchased from the network before. Those are record-breaking numbers for a product launch of that kind. Now, we may think, it's time to think, what does this actually tell us? It wasn't celebrity alone that sold those bottles. It was a storytelling approach. By connecting the product to a compelling personal narrative, HSN managed to turn a standard sales pitch into an emotional experience. Viewers weren't into just buying a fragrance. In a way, they were buying into Mary J. Blige's story and making it part of their own. That emotional buy-in drove them to take up action, pick up the phone, and just order or buy. This is a clear example of turning communication into a revenue center. A communication campaign normally is seen as a cost, right? That's directly generated millions in revenue because it was powered by a story. Right. So you might be thinking, but that's a marketing campaign. What about leadership, communication, or B2B sales? Okay, good point. The principles are the same. Whether you're selling a product on TV or selling a vision to your team, story is your hook. For instance, many of you will recognize the name Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks. He famously shared a personal story from his childhood about seeing his father struggle after an injury put him out of work, to explain why Starbucks offers healthcare and benefits even to part-time employees. By framing the company's policy in their story, Schultz made Starbucks' mission and values tangible. Employees understood the why behind decisions, customers connected with the brand's empathy, and the values-driven culture became a competitive advantage. His storytelling leadership helped Starbucks build an incredible loyal workforce and customer base. So, I need to move on to my next slide. Okay. So now, I want to make the session a little bit interactive, since we have a group of L&D professionals, right? Now you think about, try to reflect and think of a recent pitch or message you gave. Everyone got one in mind? Okay, now you ask yourself, how could I have incorporated a story into that communication? Or if you could use a story, how might you enhance it further? Consider the elements that we've discussed. Is there a personal anecdote that you could share that relates to your own personal message? It could be a success story of a customer or an employee that illustrates the point. It could even be a tale or lesson learned the hard way. The key here is to find that narrative with a character, whether it's real or hypothetical, some challenges or conflict and risk, or just any resolution. Can you come up with that? Anyone? Let me take a look. Okay, or even if you're pitching a product, rather than listing the features first, you might begin the story of a customer who faced a problem your product eventually solved, walking the listener through the whole story. Okay. Now I invite you to jot down just one idea. Take a moment, or pause for just 10 seconds, 15 seconds, okay? Just write down a quick outline of a story you could use in an upcoming presentation or training. It might be just 1 or 2 bullet points. It could be your personal story, your struggle, or your outcome that ties to your message. Okay, I'll continue after 10 seconds. Okay, if this was in person, I'd like to hear like each of you come out and tell me. But since it's virtual, you can feel free to share a one-liner, one-liner in the chat. Yeah, the change in confidence after his acne treatment. Okay, the change in confidence after Dr. Elias Tam says the change in confidence after his acne treatment. That's a good one. You see the anecdotes from past clients is actually a very strong factor that can be woven into a story. Yeah. Anyway, you get the idea, right? So hopefully, anyway, if you have that jotted down, it'll be good. Keep the idea handy. So the next time you're crafting a communication or trying to communicate to your team or a customer, try building it around a story and see what impact it has. I think you'll find as many as of us that people will just lean in, listen, and later recall your message far better when it's embedded in a narrative. Okay, I've got 3 minutes left. Yeah, so storytelling turns communication in into a revenue center, inspire actions, build trust. So use one story in your next meeting or sales call, measure the difference. That's the challenge I throw to you, right? Use a story with a story instead of just throwing out facts and info. So with that, I've come to the end of my presentation. And as Dr. Tam has mentioned, I'm actually a age reset coach. So what some would call a biohacker, health span coach. And why am I sharing about storytelling? It's because storytelling has driven a big part of my presentation and also a big part of revenue. And the thing about storytelling that I want to share is this thing called authenticity. You cannot tell a lie. Your audience will know. It has to come visually from learned experiences in your past. It could be struggles, it could be anything that you'll overcome, but it cannot be a lie. You have to live it, because over time, your audience can tell if you're authentic or not. With that, thank you so much for listening, and you could visit my website or contact me with this QR code if you have any questions. I actually have a course on effective communication as well in my website. So there's a price tag there, but don't worry. If you're interested, just contact me directly, and I'll give you a promo code for a special price. Thank you so much, and let's connect.